uh, Pilot Wing 64. Hey everybody, welcome back. Late show. We're gonna crank this one out. Go to bed. Just gonna shoot from the hip here. Nobody's in the room, but in my experience, it don't matter. Yesterday we were at the springtime. Basically, Snowbell, the cat's friend, the Angora cat, sort of made a deal with Snowbell to show up in the middle of the night and eat Margalo and perhaps Stuart as well. So Margalo got tipped off by a pigeon and decided to leave that night without telling anybody. So now, the next morning, here we are. One person here. Hey, Scalzy. For chapter 11, the automobile. For 3 days, everybody hunted all over the house for Margalo without finding so much as a feather. I guess she had spring fever, said George. A normal bird doesn't stay indoors this kind of weather. All right, I'm going to do 10% voices tonight. 10% voices and 10% just not changing my voice at all. I'm not ready to do full thespian work. A normal bird doesn't stay indoors this kind of weather. Perhaps she has a husband somewhere and has gone to meet him, suggested Mr. Little. She has not, sobbed Stuart bitterly. That's just a lot of nonsense. I don't know what the voice of Stuart should be because in the movie it's Michael J. Fox, but he's also a teeny mouse, so you'd imagine his voice would be very high pitched. So I'm just gonna switch back to no voices mode. All right. She has not, said Stuart Lee. That's just a lot of nonsense. How do you know? Asked George. Because I asked her one time. She told me she was a single bird. Everybody questioned Snowbell closely, but the cat insisted he knew nothing about Margalo's disappearance. I don't see why you have to make a pariah out of me just because that disagreeable little chippy flew the coop, said Snowbell irritably. Stuart was heartbroken. He had no appetite, refused food, and lost weight. Finally, he decided that he would run away from home without telling anybody and go out into the world and look for Margalo. While I am about it, I might as well seek my fortune too, he thought. So Stuart, this is when something changes in Stuart. He's starting to question life outside of the Littles as an option, and Michael J. Fox impression. I'm Marty McFly. I don't know. Uh, while I think about it, I might as well seek out my fortune too, he thought. Before daybreak the next morning, he got out his biggest handkerchief and placed it in his toothbrush, his money, his soap, his comb, a brush, a clean suit of money, his soap, his comb, a brush, a clean suit of underwear, and his pocket compass. I ought to take along something to remember my mother by, he thought. So he crept into his mother's bedroom where she was still asleep, climbed the lamp and cord to a bureau, pulled a strand of Mrs. Little's hair from her comb. He rolled up the hair neatly and laid in the handkerchief with the other things. Then he rolled everything up into the bundle and tied it onto one end of a wooden match. With his gray felt hat cocked jauntily on one side of his head and his pack slung across his shoulder, Stuart stole softly out of the house. Goodbye, beautiful home, he whispered. I wonder if I will ever see you again. Stuart stood uncertainly for a moment in the street in front of the house. The world was a big place. The world was a big place in which to go looking for a lost bird. North, south, east, or west, which way should he go? Stuart decided that he needed advice on such an important matter, so he started uptown to find his friend Dr. Carey, the surgeon general and owner of the schooner Wasp. Um, All right, thanks for everybody who's joining with us. We're struggling through here. I'm really sleepy, but we're getting through it here. This is getting exciting. Stuart's leaving home. I find that this is different than the movie, and I also think that he is very. That's a key theme in the book version is Stuart's independent streak, which I think is all right. So the doctor was. When I was talking about Dr. Carey, the surgeon dentist, owner of the schooner Wasp, Stuart just went to see. The doctor was glad to see Stuart. He took him right into his inner office where he was busy pulling a man's tooth. The man's name was Edward Clydesdale, and he had several wads of gauze in his cheek to hold his mouth open good and wide. The tooth was a hard one to get out, and the doctor let Stuart sit on his instrument tray so they could talk during the operation. This is my friend Stuart Little, he said to the man with gauze in his cheek. Oh, ooh, ooh, Stuart, the man, as best he could. How do you do, Stuart? Very well, thank you, replied Stuart. Well, what's on your mind, Stuart? Asked Dr. Carey, seizing hold of the man's tooth with a pair of pincers and giving a strong pull. Dentist. I ran. I don't remember what my favorite storybook is. Maybe I used to like a lot of picture books back in the day. Like Rainbow Fish and all that. I ran away from home this morning, explained Stuart. I'm going out into the world to seek my fortune and look for a lost bird. Which direction do you think I should start out in? Dr. Carey twisted the tooth a bit and racked it back and forth. What color is the bird? He asked. Um, seek my fortune and look for a lost bird. That's crazy. Okay. Which direction do you think I should start out in? Dr. Carey twisted the tooth a bit, racked it back and forth. What color is the bird? He asked. Brown, said Stuart. Better go north, said Dr. Carey. Don't you think so, Mr. Clydesdale? Oh, in Earl Art, said Mr. Clydesdale. What? Cried Stuart. I oak in Earl Art, said Mr. Clydesdale. He says look in Central Park, explained Dr. Carey, tucking another big wad of gauze into Mr. Clydesdale's cheek. And it's a good suggestion. Oftentimes people with decayed teeth have sound ideas. Central Park is a favorite place for birds in the spring. Mr. Clydesdale was nodding his head vigorously and seemed about to speak again. I have a lot of uh, cavities. So when I hear storylines about teeth, rotten teeth, I don't know what to think about that. I have a big. I hope I don't lose my teeth. You know what I'm saying? Too much sugar. Okay. Where was I? Um. Okay. Oftentimes, people with decayed teeth have sound ideas. Central Park is a favorite place for birds in the spring. Mr. Clydesdale was nodding his head vigorously and seemed about to speak again. If ooh oh a erd in enter art a you our railway What? Cried Stuart, delighted at this new kind of talk. What do you say, Mr. Clydesdale? If ooh oh okay erd in intro arc ake a u orc eu aven and Artford Railway in Ook in Onanakik. He says if you can't locate the bird in Central Park, take a New York and New Haven and Hartford Railway train and look in Connecticut, said Dr. Carey. Then he removed the rows of gauze from Mr. Clydesdale's mouth. Rinse, please, he said. Mr. Clydesdale took a glass of mouthwash that was beside the chair and rinsed his mouth out. Tell me this, Stuart, said Dr. Carey. How are you traveling? On foot? Yes, said Stuart. I love all the Hot Freak songs. You're watching. Oh, great! I'm glad y'all are watching this. I would give Stuart some. I would love to give Stuart some headphones. Listen to, make him listen to our new theme song. All right, all right. Where are we at here? Okay, this is when things get really interesting. Honestly, this is when it starts to. go into the realm of beyond the suspension of disbelief, perhaps. Okay. How are you traveling? On foot? Yes, said Stuart. Well, I think you'd better have a car. As soon as I get this tooth out, we'll see what can be done about it. Open, please, Mr. Clydesdale. Dr. Carey grabbed the tooth with the pincers again, and this time he pulled so long and so hard with such determination that the tooth popped out, which was a great relief to everybody, particularly to Mr. Clydesdale. The doctor then led Stuart into another room. From a shelf he took a tiny automobile about 6 inches long, the most perfect miniature automobile that Stuart had ever seen. It was a bright yellow with the black fenders, a streamlined car of graceful design. I made this myself, Dr. Carey said. I enjoy building model cars and boats and other things when I am not extracting teeth. This car has a real gasoline motor in it. It has quite a good deal of power. Do you think you can handle it, Stuart? Certainly, replied Stuart, looking into the driver's seat and blowing the horn. But isn't it going to attract too much attention? Won't everybody stop and stare at such a small automobile? They would if they could see you, replied Dr. Carey, but nobody will be able to see you or the car. Why not? Asked Stuart. Because this automobile, let's look at it first. That's it, it looks like. I think my favorite Freak song today is Stuart Little Vibes because it's been born into existence. Write me letters, bro. All right. What the heck are we talking about here? Okay. Okay, this part gets even crazier. Tiny car, 6 inches long, gas powered engine. All right, maybe. Now this, why won't everybody stop and stare at such a small automobile? They would if they could see you, replied Dr. Carey, but nobody will be able to see you or the car. Why not? Asked Stuart. Because this automobile is a thoroughly modern car. It is not only noiseless, it's invisible. Nobody can see it. I can see it, remarked Stuart. Push that little button, said the doctor, pointing to a button on the instrument panel. Stuart pushed the button. Instantly, the car vanished from sight. Now push it again, said the doctor. How can I push it when I can't see it? Asked Stuart. Feel around for it. So Stuart felt around until his hand came in contact with a button. It seemed like the same button, and Stuart pushed it. He heard a slight grinding noise and felt something slip out from under his hand. Hey, watch out, yelled Dr. Carey. You pushed the starter button. She's off. There she goes. She's away. She's loose in the room, and now we'll never catch her. He grabbed Stuart up and placed him on a table where he wouldn't be hit by a runaway car. Um, oh mercy, Stuart cried when he realized what he had done. It was a very awkward situation. Neither Dr. Carey nor Stuart could see that little automobile, and yet it was rushing all over the room under its own power, bumping into things. Yeah, in the movie it's an RC car. Um, and here it's like this doctor is literally like, "Hey, do you want this like real automobile, like gas powered car that is also has an invisibility function and it's like 6 inches for a mouse, like super technology that this dentist is just sharing with Stuart. So that's pretty crazy. What a hookup, right? So there's Stuart's invisible car hitting a bucket, trash bin. Neither Dr. Carey nor Stuart could see the little automobile, and yet it was rushing all over the room and under its own power, bumping into things. First, there came a crashing noise over by the fireplace. The hearth broom fell down. Dr. Carey leapt for the spot and pounced on the place where the sound had come from. But though he was weak, he had hardly got his hands all on the place where there was another crash over by the wastebasket. The doctor pounced again. Pounce, crash, pounce, crash. The doctor was racing all over the room, pouncing and missing. It is almost impossible to catch a speedy, invisible model automobile when even one is a skillful dentist. Even when one was a skillful dentist. Um, oh, yelled Stuart, jumping up and down. I'm sorry, Dr. Carey. I'm dreadfully sorry. Get a butterfly net, shouted the doctor. I can't, said Stuart. I'm not big enough to carry a butterfly net. That's true, said Dr. Carey. I forgot. My apologies, Stuart. The car is bound to stop sometime, said Stuart, because it will run out of gas. Here's this Dr. Carey looking for the car. All right. Because it will run out of gas. That's true too, said the doctor. And so he and Stuart sat down and waited patiently until they no longer heard any crashing sounds in the room. The doctor got down on his hands and knees and crawled cautiously all over, feeling here and there, until at last he found the car. It was in the fireplace, buried up to its hubs in wooden ashes. The doctor pressed the popper button, and there it stood in plain sight again. Its front fenders crumpled, its radiator leaking, its headlights broken, its windshield shattered, and its right tire punctured, and quite a bit of yellow paint scratched off the hood. Oh my gosh, what a disaster! What a wreck! What a mess! Groaned the doctor. Stuart, I hope this will be a lesson to you. Never push a button on an automobile unless you are sure of what you are doing. Yes, sir, answered Stuart, his eyes filled with tears, each tear being smaller than a drop of dew. It has been an unhappy morning, and Stuart was already homesick. He was sure he was never going to see Margalo again. Dang, y'all. That's crazy. That's the end of chapter 11, which was called The Automobile. So we have this gift, this amazing gift is shattered before anybody could even use it. That's crazy. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Um, Rip the Whip. Rest in peace. I started watching the real show Big Brother today. I had this DVD to watch Hanoi Big Brother, but I don't have it, and it's not in English, and there's no subtitles. So I started watching Big Brother. Pretty interesting show from the year 2000. I'm sleepy. Thanks to everybody tuned in tonight. Let's tune in tomorrow, and there'll be another episode sometime during the day. You never know what's gonna happen on Stuart Little, the only Stuart Little channel. All day, every day, Stuart style. I'm looking for my headphones. Okay. Good night, y'all. Good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye. Good night.